Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris McKinlay.
So it's the summer of 2012, and I'm living in my thesis cubicle. And I'm in the 6th year of a PhD program in math at UCLA. And at that period in my life, I was going through this sort of monastic phase. And I had like a little foam pad that I would roll out under my desk to sleep, and I would go to the UCLA gym to take a shower. And every night, I would log on to this supercomputer called Yellowstone, which is at the National Center for Atmospheric Research. And at the time, it was in the top 20 powerful supercomputers in the world. And so I could only use it at night. And so every night I would log on and I would run these distributed data mining algorithms that I was working on for my dissertation. And it was pretty quiet in the cubicles at night. And so when my code was compiling or running on the cluster, I'd have a lot of downtime and I'd kill it on Reddit or OkCupid. And one night, I'm reading OkCupid's blog, and I come across this line in a post, and it says, OkCupid is no more responsible for your match percentages than Microsoft Excel is responsible for your net worth. And I took that as an invitation to program my way into a relationship. I'd been questioning my lifestyle at the time and wondering if maybe it was time to try and find someone and start a relationship. So I decided that I was going to reverse engineer OkCupid's match algorithm. So in case you don't know what OkCupid is, it's the largest free dating website in the world. It's got about 14 million active monthly users. And between any two of those users, it generates a number between 0 and 100 called a match percentage. And everything in the site, all the activity, all of the visibility is based on these match percentages. And your match percentage with any other person is determined on the basis of your answers to these multiple choice questions called match questions. And there's about 500,000 of them. They're all user submitted, cover all walks of life, dating, drugs, sex, religion, lifestyle. And so I'm looking at these questions and I ask myself a question. I'm like, well, okay, what happens when everyone goes online and answers these? Do their answers sort of uniformly percolate throughout the space the way that they might if we all flipped coins to determine our answers? Or do they tend to clump up somehow around commonly held belief systems or something like that? And if so, how much? And so the more I thought about that, the more compelling the idea seemed, and I started using all of my supercomputing time to download and analyze OkCupid match data. And I discovered that when people in Los Angeles go online and answer match questions, they don't do it uniformly at random. Instead, they cluster rather tightly into 7 different groups. And so I started kind of checking out these different groups, and I found one that looked dateable. So I wrote some combinatorial optimization software to figure out which of these 500,000 questions could I answer truthfully, but still maintain the highest possible match percentage with every single person in the cluster. So I wrote that and I ran that code on this supercomputer for a while. And it spit back the right questions to use, and I entered those into my profile, and that's when things blew up. All of a sudden, I became the top match for over 30,000 women in Los Angeles. So that meant that anytime any one of these women went on OkCupid, I'd be there at the top. any search they ran, anytime they looked at their what's new feed, there I was. But I'm still, this like ratty grad student with, with a bad profile, and I'm getting hundreds of profile views a day, and I got excited and decided to write a whole bunch more software to optimize down to the very last word and last pixel, like the ideal profile for myself to convert these page views into messages. And so after doing that, I started getting about 88 unsolicited messages per week, which, to put in perspective, for a straight male on OkCupid, the median number of unsolicited messages per week is 0. So that's how, for 3 months during the summer of 2012, I became the most popular of the 7 million male profiles on OkCupid. And when it was happening, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is going to be like Amazon Prime for my dating life. And I remember being worried, like, is OkCupid going to notice? Are they going to shut me down? How long do I have? So I decided I needed like an equally hardcore second phase to this project. And so I promised myself I would go on an average of 1 date per day until they either shut it down or I met someone worth shutting it down for. And I still remember the first date that I went on after deciding to do that. So I unfold myself from my cubicle and I go to the gym and shower, and I had to leave early because I knew I was going to have to jumpstart my car. So I get a jump, and I drive to West Hollywood, and I meet this entertainment lawyer. And she's driving a Mercedes convertible, and she wants to go to this like expensive restaurant. And I'm like, all right, this is not even worth doing. This is dead. Like, this is a total waste of time and money. But whatever, I'll go. And over dinner, I'm thinking, why is she even doing this? And she looks at me quite seriously and asks me, I've been on OkCupid since 2006, and I've never seen a 100% match before. Do you think we're soulmates? And I got really freaked out, and I thought, wow, I'm playing with fire. I have to be very careful. And so that whole month, I just, kept going on these dates, dinners, concerts, hikes, one funeral. And I was trying to have these sort of romantic storybook first dates, and it was just killing me. I put over 1,000 miles on my car. I was burning through time and money, and it was clearly not scalable the way I wanted it to be. And so I asked myself a second question. I was like, well, all right, what is the smallest socially acceptable interaction I can have around about 3 minutes of FaceTime? Because that's all I really need to know if I want to continue, and I haven't been able to write software to really tell me that information. So I decided on a small cup of decaf coffee, preferably drunk, like standing up. And I found these 4 coffee shops in Westwood, close to UCLA. They're all kind of kitty corner to one another. And so I would just do 1 coffee date each hour on the hour and kind of work my way around. And that was a hard requirement. If you weren't going to come to this intersection, we weren't going on a date. And at that point, I'd started to notice some interesting similarities between these dates. These were people who'd answered several hundred of these multiple choice questions with a high degree of statistical similarity, but the common frame of the coffee date really brought it out. So similar conversations, similar affectations. At one point, 8 out of 9 people in a row ordered the same coffee drink. And so I think partly as a result of the practice and also my, I think, natural inclination to try and optimize things, I got very, very good at these dates. When to lean in and show interest, when to sort of space out and not show interest. And in the course of 6 weeks or so of doing that, I took the conversion rate from first date to like email asking for second date from 50% to 60 to 70 to 82%. But the problem was I wasn't going on many second dates because at any given time I had 6 or 7 first dates already lined up. And so I was saying no to people that just a few months ago I would have been like completely ecstatic to go on dates with. I was completely desensitized. And yet these women were people who matched very, very highly with me, and so they were bringing their A game to these dates. They had expectations, and I was sort of, I think, disappointing those expectations, and it became very hard for me to do that. And I felt guilty. These didn't feel romantic in any way. And so in order to sort of avoid writing these hard emails, I began to intentionally tank dates. And so at first I would just tell them the truth. Hey, I've got 3 other dates lined up today. And that didn't work. That cut the second date email percentage by about 12%, but not more than that. And so I started to go to like more and more extreme measures. And so one thing I would do is in the middle of the date, if I decided, okay, no good, I would go to the bathroom and I would put on eyeliner. And then I would come back and she'd be there and she'd say, "Did you just put on eyeliner?" And I would completely deny it. Completely awkwardly deny putting on eyeliner. And that was much more effective. But clearly something had gotten twisted. I began to question my motives. I thought, are you really trying to find someone, or are you just trying to optimize some kind of game? Or are you more into the sort of sociological side, or is it the performance art side? I thought about gathering more data, refactoring the code. I thought very seriously about shutting it down. But I didn't, because at that point I was going viral, I guess, on OkCupid. I was getting placed in front of enough eyeballs that I was getting messages from Argentina, from Australia, from all over LA, from people who didn't belong to this sort of cluster that I'd optimized for. And so every once in a while on these dates, there'd just be a total surprise. And I loved that. So I remember on date number 88, I met this woman named Christine, and she was like, "Hey, your profile says replies very selectively." So I decided to, amp up my profile for you, and put these pictures on and tweaked the language a little bit, and I could tell that she was really different, and I just sort of melted and said, "Oh my God, well, I have a question for you." I basically did the same thing. Actually, I did much worse. I used some topic mining algorithms to pull out all these things, and then I reverse engineered the match algorithm, and I've been going on an average of 1.1 dates per day for the last 80 days, and I'm getting really tired, and I'm confused, but you seem really cool. Is that like twisted? And she took a beat and she said, "No, that's actually kind of what it's like being a woman dating online. You have all these people writing you don't really know if it's about you. It's confusing." And we had a really good sort of 20-minute conversation about the politics of gender and data, and it was a really good date. It felt like a good date. Anyway, that was a couple years ago. I've since graduated and moved out of my cubicle and moved on with my life. But I occasionally tell this story, and when I tell it, people often express this sort of like buyer's remorse about their relationships, like, oh my God, I met my significant other in a bar, or through friends. Do you think I stopped dating too soon? And they want to know, well, did it work out for you? I mean, did you meet someone, or did it all sort of fizzle despite all that work you put into it? And fortunately for me, it did work. Christine and I are engaged. But it's not because I hacked OkCupid. I would say we're engaged because we work pretty hard at our relationship, and relationships, at least good ones, aren't the kinds of thing that you can get from Amazon Prime. But I usually also add when I respond to these people that I'm fairly certain I conducted a thorough search. Thank you.